Right now, in your pocket, there is a skill your ancestors would find unimaginable. It's not a skill you learned. It's a skill you outsourced. You open an app, a blue dot appears, and a voice tells you where to turn. You never have to know where you are. But here's the strange part. For most of human history, not knowing where you were could get you killed. So your brain built something extraordinary to solve that problem. And you still have it. You just stopped using it. Before maps, before GPS, before even writing, humans navigated across entire oceans and deserts using nothing but memory. Not vague memory. Precise, structured, testable memory. Pacific Islanders crossed thousands of miles of open water using the angle of swells, the flight patterns of birds, and the position of stars without a single instrument. Aboriginal Australians walked routes passed down for tens of thousands of years, songs that doubled as maps, each verse marking a landmark, a water source, a turn. Get the song wrong, and you could die in the desert. Get it right, and you could walk a path your great-great-grandparents' grandparents walked. This wasn't talent. It was training, built into childhood, reinforced constantly, because the cost of forgetting was your life. So what happened to that skill? You still have the hardware. Neuroscientist Eleanor McGuire proved that decades ago, almost by accident. She scanned the brains of London taxi drivers, people who spend years memorizing over 25,000 streets with no GPS, a test called simply the knowledge. What she found reshaped how scientists understood the adult brain. The driver's hippocampus, the brain region tied to spatial memory, was measurably larger than average, not slightly larger, larger enough to see on a scan, larger the longer someone had been driving. Your brain, it turns out, physically grows the muscle of navigation if you actually use it, which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens if you don't? Neuroscientist Veronique Bobout has spent years studying exactly that. Her research compared people who rely heavily on GPS against people who navigate using their own memory and landmarks. The GPS users didn't just perform worse on spatial tasks. Over time, they showed reduced activity in that same hippocampal region, the very structure McGuire found thriving in London's cab drivers. Bobout's work suggests something more unsettling than simply forgetting how to read a map. The skill isn't dormant, it's atrophying. Like a muscle you stopped lifting with. You didn't choose this, not really. Nobody sat you down and asked if you wanted to trade your internal compass for a satellite. The trade happened quietly, one convenient turn-by-turn direction at a time. Why would you memorize a route when a voice will just tell you? Why would you learn the stars when a screen already knows exactly where you are? But memory itself used to work completely differently, and not just for navigation. Author and researcher Lynn Kelly spent years studying how oral cultures, societies without writing, stored enormous amounts of information generation after generation. Her research uncovered something remarkable. These societies didn't just tell stories. They built elaborate memory systems, chants, dances, and physical landmarks that functioned like a hard drive made of movement and rhythm. Kelly found that some oral traditions encoded staggering amounts of practical knowledge this way: botanical facts, star charts, legal codes, genealogies stretching back centuries, all without a single written page. The information wasn't stored in a book. It was stored in the land itself, in a walk, in a song you couldn't forget, because forgetting it meant losing the knowledge forever. Compare that to how you store information today. You don't memorize your best friend's phone number. Your phone does. You don't memorize your own schedule. A calendar app pings you. You don't memorize the way home. A screen highlights the road in blue. None of this is laziness. It's an entirely reasonable trade, given how much information the modern world demands of you. But it means an ancient capacity, the same one that once let a person cross open ocean by starlight, mostly sits unused. Here's the twist that makes this stranger than it first seems. This isn't a story about ancient people being smarter than you. their brains were identical to yours, wired the same way, capable of the same feats. The London cab drivers prove it. Given enough demand and enough repetition, a fully modern brain still grows the exact same way an ancient navigator's did. The skill isn't extinct, it's just unemployed. So what do you do with that? Probably not throw away your phone in the middle of a city you don't know. That would be its own kind of foolishness. But the research suggests something worth sitting with. Every time you choose to notice a landmark instead of glancing at a screen, every time you try to hold a route in your head before you drive it, you're not doing something quaint or old-fashioned. You're loading a piece of ancient software that never got deleted, only shelved. Your ancestors didn't have a better brain than you. They just had no choice but to use all of it. Right now, in your pocket, there is a skill you inherited from people who crossed oceans without instruments and deserts without maps. You didn't lose it. You just haven't opened the app.